If you're somewhere in your late 20s or 30s and you feel this quiet, low grade panic that you're already behind, I want you to hear something. You're not behind. You're following a map that expired before you were born. Here's the script you were handed: study hard, go to college, land a steady 9 to 5, stay loyal, climb the corporate ladder for 40 years, then retire at 65. It sounds responsible, it sounds safe. But that plan wasn't built for your economy, it was built for your grandfathers, and nobody ever rewrote it. So you're running hard on a track that quietly got moved. Three invisible pillars held that old script upright, and one by one, all three quietly shifted. They didn't vanish into thin air. Something stranger happened. The risk they used to carry got handed to you, and nobody mentioned it. Let's go back just for a minute. Picture America after World War II. You finish school, you walk into a company, and if you keep your head down, that company carries you to the end. That was the deal. One employer, one career, one straight line. And it actually worked because the world stood still long enough for it to work. Prices moved slowly, houses were cheap, and the company, not you, carried the risk. Here's the thing nobody says out loud. That deal wasn't normal. It was a brief, beautiful accident of history, a few golden decades where the math just lined up. Now let's be honest, it was never a perfect age. For a lot of people, the door to college stayed shut. Whole groups got far less of the deal. And everything you had depended on one boss. But for those it covered, the line was simple and it held. We grew up being told that accident was the rule, but that machine ran on 3 engines, and one by one, each engine changed shape. Let's watch them go. If you've ever worked a corporate W-2 job, ask yourself one question. Does your employer promise you a fixed monthly check for the rest of your life? Almost certainly not. That's the difference between two worlds. The old world ran on the defined benefit pension. The company owed you a guaranteed income. The company carried the risk. The new world runs on the defined contribution plan, your 401k. You put the money in, you pick the funds, and you carry all the risk yourself. Now here's the number. In 1980, almost 4 in 10 private workers had a real pension behind them. Today, around 1 in 10. A real pension didn't disappear for everyone. Teachers, firefighters, plenty of government jobs still have one. But for most people in a corporate W-2 job, the safety net didn't shrink. It got handed to you to hold. The pension didn't simply vanish. The risk got quietly transferred onto your shoulders, and most people still plan as if someone else is catching them. That's pillar 1. Now the second engine. The old script assumed loyalty was a two-way street. You stay loyal to them, they stay loyal to you. Think about your own life, your friends. How long does anyone actually stay in one job now? For American workers aged 25 to 34, the median time spent with one employer is 2.7 years. The 40-year career the script promised you statistically doesn't exist anymore. Loyalty used to be rewarded. Now it's just assumed and forgotten. And it cuts both ways. Sometimes the company lets you go, sometimes you walk, because the fastest raise isn't a promotion. It's a new logo on your paycheck. Either way, the 40-year handshake is gone. You can climb the corporate ladder for years and still get a calendar invite that ends it on a Tuesday. So if your entire plan rests on one stable 9 to 5, your plan rests on something that already broke. That's pillar 2. But the third one is the quietest and the most brutal. The old script had a hidden assumption baked in. That hard work alone could buy a normal life. A house, some savings, a future. For a while, it could. In the 1980s, the typical American bought their first home at 29. Today, that age has climbed to 40. 11 extra years. 11 years of saving just to reach the same front door. Why? Because the housing market sprinted and the paycheck walked. Real estate now costs around 5 times the typical household income. In the 80s, it was closer to 3. And while you save, inflation quietly eats the cash you're sitting on. The dollar in your account doesn't sleep peacefully. It slowly leaks value while you wait. So the old promise, work hard and the math works out, flipped. Today, a huge share of Americans work a full-time 9 to 5 and still live paycheck to paycheck. Not everyone, but far more than the old script ever planned for. That's the part that hurts. You can do everything right and still feel like the ground is sliding backward. 3 pillars, all shifted. The pension, the loyal job, the friendly math. None of them vanished completely, but every one of them handed you the risk. So if the destination is gone, why is everyone still sprinting toward it? Let's talk about the finish line itself, age 65. You've heard it your whole life. Work until 65, then rest. But where did 65 even come from? It wasn't handed down by nature. It was an administrative decision. When the US set 65 as the retirement age back in the 1930s, life expectancy at birth was only around 60. Now, that number is sneaky. It was dragged down by people who died young. Here's the honest version. If you actually reached 65, you'd often live another 10, maybe 15 years. So retirement was real, but it was short. We took that short window and turned it into the entire goal of a human life. This is the trap. The belief that you grind for 4 decades, trading your strongest, sharpest years to buy back a sliver of freedom at the very end. If your body and your luck both hold, you're not really saving for freedom. You're renting it back at a brutal price right before you run out of time to use it. And here's what the modern map understands. It doesn't move the finish line. It deletes it. It replaces one faraway finish line with something you can actually start touching at 35. Well, let me show you how. The old script was a straight line. One direction, one speed, from school to grave. The modern map isn't a line at all. It's seasons. Think about it. A human life isn't a treadmill. It's a series of chapters. Sprints where you work intensely and earn hard. Plateaus where you coast and recover. Pivots where you reinvent what you even do. A modular life says you don't have to wait until 65 to live. You can take a mini retirement at 32. Reinvent your career at 40. Work part-time at 50 because you want to, not because you're broke. But, and this is the whole game, that freedom needs a foundation. And here's where most people pour the foundation backwards. They build their entire life around one thing. A single paycheck, one source of cash flow, one faucet. And if that faucet gets shut off, everything stops. The modern map flips this. You stop chasing a bigger paycheck. You start building assets. What's the difference? A 9-to-5 pays you only while you show up. The moment the paycheck stops, everything stops. An asset is different. An asset doesn't ask for permission. It works the night shift while you sleep. It earns while you're on vacation. It pays you while you do absolutely nothing. If you've never owned a single thing that makes money without you, this is the shift that changes everything. Stop trading hours for dollars forever. Start owning assets in index funds, ETFs, real estate that quietly deposit money while you live your life. But build assets is vague. How much is actually enough? There's a number. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The old script had no real target. Just retire eventually. The modern map gives you something sharper, a single number. Let's call it your freedom number. Here's the simple idea behind it. You don't need to be rich. You need enough invested that the income it throws off covers your life. The moment that happens, work becomes a choice. A widely used rule of thumb in the financial world goes like this. Take what you spend in a year, multiply it by 25. That's the rough size of the pot you'd aim for, so that a careful slice each year could fund you, potentially for decades. Now, this is a rough guide, not a law of physics. How long it lasts depends on the market, on inflation, and on how long your retirement runs. But as a target to aim at, it gives the number a shape. Let's make it real. Say your life costs $40,000 a year. Times 25 is $1 million. That number probably feels impossible right now. I get it. But watch how the math behaves when you stop sprinting and start compounding. Imagine you invest $500 a month into a broad, low-cost index fund or ETF at a long-run average around 7% a year. And to be clear, that 7% is a historical average, not a promise. Some years the market jumps, some years it bleeds. The average only shows up if you stay in the seat long enough. After 25 years at that average, that turns into roughly $400,000. And here's the magic. You only put in about $150,000 of your own money. The rest, the market built it for you while you slept. This is the real shift. Each dollar you invest isn't spending. It's a time buyback. Every dollar quietly purchases back a piece of your future freedom. You don't need to predict the market. You don't need the perfect moment. You need time, consistency, and a number to walk toward. But here's the cruel twist. There's one trap that destroys even the people who do all of this perfectly. You can master every pillar, build the assets, hit the number, and still get this completely wrong. It's the quiet voice that says, I'll live once I have enough. So you optimize and you delay and you wait. You tell yourself freedom is a finish line in the future. Just one more year, one more raise, one more milestone, and one day you look up and you've spent your whole life preparing to live. Here's the truth the modern map is really about. The point was never the $1 million. The point was the freedom underneath it. Time, choice, mornings that belong to you. And some of that you can claim today. The map isn't there to make you rich. It's there to give you your life back. So don't just chase the number. Use it to live now deliberately and live later freely. So let's redraw it, the whole thing in one breath. The old script said, one job, one line, 40 years, retire at the end. The new script says something different. Build assets, not just income. Think in seasons, not a single line. Aim at a freedom number, not a far off finish line. And buy back your time, starting now. You were never behind, you were just handed the wrong map. And here's the part nobody says. The old model didn't die. For some people it still works, but it's quieter now. More on your shoulders, riskier than they ever admitted. The instructions are what broke, not your ability to find your own way. So here's the only real task. Stop following directions written for a world that no longer exists. The old map ended at 65. The new one starts the day you stop following theirs.